Alongside Brett Taveau, author of Unpacking Greatness, a Chiefs book you can find on Amazon. Brett made it through the whole season. The Chiefs made it to the Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl against the Philadelphia Eagles. And a big reason for that is becoming a more complete team than they were a season ago. We saw that in this game, especially with the offensive line, especially with the running game.
Yeah, 150 yards, 6 yards a carry, just being able to rip off efficient and explosive runs when they needed them. As you said, I think a big part of the offseason question mark storyline was becoming more of a complete team and be able to lean on a physical run game when they needed it in the postseason. And this was just an example of that.
Yeah, we talked so much of the AFC Championship game. When the drop 8 happened, the Chiefs were not countering that with runs. They were counting with passes. So we saw more under center this year. We saw more tight ends this year. And we saw a Chiefs team be able to run the football when the Eagles dared them to, a big part of them winning the Super Bowl. So we're going to go over 3 plays here, Brett. We'll start with this one early on in the first half, Pacheco's longest run.
Yeah, so this is an outside zone here with jet motion, and as you'll see, this jet motion is going to freeze number 57 there, that middle linebacker, and it's really going to open up space on that front side. But just an amazing job of getting a hat on a hat. The jet motion holds not only the middle linebacker but the backside defensive end too, and then everybody on up front. Is getting a hat on a hat, and Pacheco does a good job reading the space and taking that ball where it needs to go.
And we'll see him reading the space here as it plays on a little bit, but the edge is blocked here. And so he sees that edge set. We talked so much earlier in the season. We talk about growth from players. This is something Pacheco probably doesn't see week 1, week 2, week 3. He might try to force it out there, but because he sees the edge is set, he knows there's a vision up for him upfield and a big gap that he can run through.
Yeah, so he's reading outside in on that, obviously. He's going to take the edge if it's there. And then once he sees that DN setting the edge, he's going to take his eyes to the next defender inside, and he sees that, and then he sticks that left foot in the ground and gets vertical right away.
And there he goes up the field. Real quick, we'll run it back a little bit because I think it's worth noting this block by Trey Smith. I saw also Seth Galina from Pro Football Focus mention this as well. You notice the splits of the linemen here are different on one side of the line than the other. The left side, there's kind of more space there, which allows more openings. On the right side, there's less space, which is helpful for Trey Smith, 65 on the screen here, because now he's able to wrap around and get what we're talking about, reach block. He has to get the guy that's in front of Creed Humphrey and get on his shoulder and push him outside. We see him do a great job of that here.
Yeah, Seth does really good work, and I saw him point that out as well. And it's one thing I didn't notice when I first watched is, in the outside zone, you cut down those backside splits because, as you said, it helps cut those guys off. And he's got a guy that's a gap and a half over, and he's going to get to his play side shoulder, which is just incredible.
I mean, that's a really, really good block. And again, these are some of the nuances you look at when you go back to the film and you say, that's an amazing block from Trey Smith. You see he has him sealed right here. A little bit of help from Creed Humphrey to start off with, but that's what makes these runs go, and that's what made this one go before Pacheco does the rest on the backside of this.
Yeah, and you see a good job there by Juju of just mirroring, staying in between that corner and the ball. And that corner doesn't want any part of that tackle, but he's at least doing his job there and forcing that deep safety to make that tackle for a gain of 20-something, whatever it was.
Looks like he's seen some Pacheco runs before. He wanted no thank you. No part of that.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. This is one of our old favorites, Brett. We talked so much in the offseason about this one. This is the Michael Burton play. This is the inside zone, but the Chiefs do something tricky to make sure that the Eagles don't know what's coming.
Yeah, so they're going to obviously give a different look, and as you said, this is one of our favorites. I know you wrote an article on it this past spring. The Chiefs had just an unbelievable success rate handing this play to 45 Burton, but obviously those guys that get paid millions of dollars were picking up on that tendency a little bit when that personnel group was in the game and adjusting not only their personnel but their calls to stop it. So here's a way to get to that play with a different personnel group and a little bit more dynamic of a ball carrier.
Yeah, and again, the thing about this, though, is who is going to make this play? It's the guys that made this play for the Chiefs in the past. It's Creed Humphrey. It's Joe Thuney. Why did it work in the past? Because those two guys could blow their defenders off the ball. Why does it work this play? Because those two guys blow their defenders off the ball.
Yeah, they get incredible movement here, and Thuney's actually going to block 2 people, and he's got he's got a single block. And he's gonna displace 97 all the way back in that play side linebacker, which is going to make it very difficult for him to fit.
And again, McKinnon, he's faster than Burton, so he makes probably a bigger play than Burton would have. But we go back to the blocking on this play. These two guys being able to clear the space, that's what got the Chiefs so many short yardage runs last year. That's what got them a big run in the Super Bowl, and obviously one that was very important to move the chains.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get to the third one here. This one a little bit later in the game, and this is what we talked about so much. The Chiefs didn't have really this in their arsenal last year as much. Under center, and then what we talked about with 13 personnel, 3 tight ends. So that creates a huge surface here on the right side of the screen.
Yeah, so this is as you said, 13 personnel and um, 5 gaps to that field side there. And I didn't see any of this last year out of the Chiefs. And of course, I only broke down the third downs, and you're not running this play on third down very often unless it's a third and very short. But they got those 5 guys there creating that surface, and then 2 on the backside. And this play is called duo. It's kind of a gap zone hybrid, which we've looked at I think before. But it's just getting a hat on a hat. They're gonna block basically their inside gap, try to create vertical displacement, force those linebackers to fit, and then try to get the back to the second level.
Yeah, and talking with Tom Melvin, who's the Chiefs tight ends coach, they talked about how they're so much more impressed this year with Noah Gray and his ability to block. That's what makes this play go, because, again, you're not seeing many – if you look at the screen right, you're not seeing many linebackers. So when we talk about 13 personnel, we're talking about 1 running back, 3 tight ends for the Chiefs. Usually other teams match that with linebackers. They want to put big guys out on the field to match with big guys. We're not seeing the Eagles really do that. So what can you do when the Eagles don't match? You run the football, you get downhill. And so we're going to see that with the Chiefs here and be watching 83 along with these 2 linemen we're talking about. The Chiefs front gets a good push, and Noah Gray shows he has become a better blocker.
Yeah, so Mahomes is going to reverse out, and Pacheco is going to take this right downhill to the A gap, and he's basically going to read that space. He's going to push that front side A gap, and he's naturally going to fall in to this space here and get to the second level and get 9 or 10 yards there, which is just unbelievable work up front.
And again, this is kind of the counterpunch the Chiefs did not have a season ago. You talked about, we talked about the 13 personnel. They actually ran it twice as much this year as they did last year. The most successful team in the NFL with 13 personnel as well. We saw the Chiefs throw out of it a lot of times too. Patrick Mahomes hitting guys like Jody Fortson, and then Travis Kelce on over routes, even a Blake Bell where he was wide open in the middle of the field. But this is what happens if you try to match them up to play pass defense, put a bunch of small guys on the field. The Chiefs can still do this, and then you've got Noah Gray, 83 in here, throwing a nice block to get Pacheco upfield, get him 11 yards. And again, this is the counterpunch the Chiefs needed. They came through with it in the biggest of moments.
And then if we could watch this one more time, on the last play, you highlighted those 3 interior guys, and look at these, the movement on both as you said, those defenders to displace those guys. The line of scrimmage is on the 45.
Yeah.
And those guys are getting pushed back near the 50. Makes it very difficult to play as a linebacker when those guys are getting pushed in your lap.
Some credit to the Chiefs as well on the front office, because they did not have a back like Isaiah Pacheco last year. So having him in there obviously helps things as well and get some of that physicality in there. Any last wrap up, Brett, with these runs? Again, Chiefs win the Super Bowl 38-35. We can talk about Patrick Mahomes. He had an amazing game, but I don't think they get it done without some of these running plays. I don't think they get it done also without being able to do something to the Eagles defense, which was trying to take the pass away.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just at any level, it's a game of matchups, particularly in the NFL. A matching personnel and trying to create mismatches based on the personnel that the defense is trying to match you with, and it's just an unbelievable job by the coaching staff. Coach Andy Heck, the O-line coach, getting those guys ready to play, challenging them. The Chiefs were the more physical team. As we see here, and it just whenever they're doing that, whenever they're a more complete team, they're just very, very difficult to stop.
Well, saw it from the beginning to the end here, Brett. That's going to do it for the details for the 2022 season. The Chiefs start from week 1, end up 14-3, end up winning the Super Bowl and correcting some of the faults that kept them short from a season ago. So thanks so much for joining us this year, Brett. For Brett, this is Jesse. Be sure to tune in for another details, hopefully next season.